Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, a narcoleptic comedian, and this is the podcast where I interview people in my bed and we talk about sleep, comedy, and relationships. This week I interviewed comedian and fellow podcaster Jay Light. We had such a blast. We talked about sleepwalking, arbitrary holidays, album recording, MasterChef Jr, remodeling houses, a variety of other things. Jay is a great comedian and he has an album that you should absolutely check out. The album is called Good Guy with a Gun, and you can go to jaylightcomedy.com to get more information. That's JAYLIGHT. You can also follow Jay on Instagram at DietJ and Twitter at DietJ as well. Please also check out his podcast, which is a super fun podcast where people talk about movies that are really popular for most people, but that other people just do not like. It's really fun. I listened to the Spaceballs episode. It's called Blockbusting, and you can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. If you like the podcast, please remember to rate and review on iTunes and wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can follow me at Sarah Albritton, or check out sleepysarah.com for more info on me. This is the last week before the election, so please vote if you haven't yet. It's a very important election, so I hope that you vote, and I hope you're doing well, and I hope you enjoy this fun interview I had with Jay. Sleeping with Sarah. Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton. I'm here with my guest, Jay Light.
Hi.
Hi. How'd you sleep last night, Jay?
It was a rough one. I'm in the middle of doing some remodeling. I just moved to a new place and been doing for the whole week painting and taking down popcorn ceilings. So I'm tired. I went to bed late. The cats, I got 2 cats. They were all over us this morning. So coffee is my favorite thing today.
Coffee helps a lot, so that's good.
Oh, yes.
But I guess that's good. I mean, quarantine or COVID, whatever you call this, life that we have right now is probably not a bad time to be doing
Pandemic
remodeling.
life. Yes, some pandemic painting. It's good.
Yeah.
I got time. I don't have a job starting back up again until October, so I'm going to take advantage of it.
I think that's smart, like at least get your home projects in. I feel like there's different levels of quarantine for people. At first it was like puzzles and Zoom game nights. And then it's like, oh, a big, huge project, or I'm going to learn how to sew.
Mm-hmm. Or learn how to, I went through the whole like sourdough thing for a minute. I definitely upped my cooking game. And then I was like, oh, hey, maybe I should move to a quieter, less looty neighborhood.
What neighborhood are you in now?
Now I'm in Highland Park.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, that's a little ways away. Were you like West Hollywood before or somewhere? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were over on Melrose and Fairfax-ish.
That's not that far from where I'm at. Yeah, I'm a couple blocks from the Improv.
Okay, yeah. So was I. I used to be able to walk there.
Yeah, I could walk there and watch the comedy store is a little bit more of a hike, but
yep. And literally because you have to go uphill, which is a bummer.
But at least you like get your steps in. At the very end of the night, I'm going downhill. I don't have to hike up at the end of the night. So
right, it's pretty solid.
But yeah, so you mentioned to me before the podcast that you do have like a little bit of a sleep thing.
Yeah, I sleepwalk.
Wow, like full on sleepwalking, like you keep a bell over the door sleepwalking?
Full on. I've never put myself in a position where it's been dangerous before I wake up, at least. Like I haven't sleepwalked in this new place, but I would frequently in my old place, I would wake up standing in the kitchen or standing in the bathroom. My girlfriend would hear me because I'd sleep talk too, and sometimes I'll spring out of bed and she'll say I'll talk to her and say some nonsense, and then I'll just fall right back asleep, or she'll like catch me. We used to have this door to we had a balcony at our last place, and I would be standing by the door to the balcony, but not actually going outside. So I mean, I get up, I move around, and then when I wake up, it takes me a second to remember where I am, just because I'm usually coming out of that dream logic. But yeah, I mean, I've been sleepwalking for God, like 15 years.
So
No, longer than that, almost 20 years.
when you were a kid,
Yeah, I started sleepwalking and noticing sleepwalking when I was like 12 or 13.
did you tell your parents or no?
Yeah, well, my mom caught me one time.
It's not like you were trying to get away with something. You make it sound like.
So I kind of was a little bit. I had, I think it was like 13 or 12, and I sleepwalked and took a shower. And I had done that before. Like this was not new. Usually the water would wake me up in the shower. But I sleepwalked, took a shower, got ready for school, and then we had a security system at our house, so I would turn off the alarm so I could go catch the bus in the mornings usually. And so I was doing that, and then my mom came into the front door where I was, and she was like, "Jay, what are you doing?" I was like, "I have to go to school." And she's like, "It's 3 a.m." And then I woke up, and it was 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think that's very interesting. That also sounds like it could also be a little bit of what's called automatic behavior. So that's also a symptom of narcolepsy. So I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No, I've never heard that before.
So automatic behavior is basically when your brain shuts off, but your body keeps doing the motion. So your eyes could be closed or open at this time. So this is why if you have people that wake up in the shower, I totally recommend after we're done with this interview, like Google it and look it up because it sounds a lot like automatic behavior. And now I'm not a doctor. I just obviously for my own purposes know a lot about my disorder, which today is actually World Narcolepsy Day, which is...
Oh, happy birthday? I don't know what to say to that.
I feel like they just make this up. It's also my parents' anniversary, and I'm positive that their anniversary is older than World Narcolepsy Day. So it's not it's not like something I don't know. They do all this stuff to try to, bring awareness, which is great and important, but it's just a day they picked. Right.
Yeah. I mean, everybody gets a day now. Mm-hmm. I feel like I had, what was it? The last week I didn't know was Bi Visibility Week, which ran all last week. And then it's also like Latino Heritage Month right now, but it started in the middle of September and goes through the middle of October. And so it feels like, I mean, sure, people deserve to get recognized, but I don't know, it feels so arbitrary sometimes. I feel like if you're going to make, like World Narcolepsy Day, I feel like shouldn't take place in September. I feel like it should take place in like the winter when it's nighttime more often and people are sleeping anyway.
Yeah. And also like, I didn't know about the bi week either because I am pan technically, but like, I didn't, know about it. And that's something that I am. So it's very weird, but I don't think we can keep up with all the days. I just remember in college, I thought it was cool. Like the world, like the Talk Like a Pirate Day and other BS, like the fun days.
What was that? I think we just had Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Oh man, I missed it.
The 19th.
The 19th. You know that? You know that like by heart.
It's one of those, I was raised by the internet basically. So that's one of those things that very early internet stays in my head.
Like that Donald Duck, the audio of Donald Duck masturbating. I remember that was one of the early things I found.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that. I was all over. I mean, that was one of the things I did when I started staying up late after my parents would go to bed. I would just get on the internet.
Yeah. I listened to your album, so you have a good story.
You know the stories. Yeah.
It's pretty. That's good though. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Yeah, I really. I'm glad that it's out. I'm glad I was finally able to get that out and that people could hear it.
Where did you record it and when?
I recorded it at the Pack Theater, mostly because there's a stand-up and then there's sketches and a roast battle on there. Mm-hmm. So the roast battle I did at the store, and I did all the sketches in various studios. But yeah, I started recording it last August, and then it was all done with the recording at least by November. Mm-hmm. And then Coach T produced it, and he took it into his hands and he finished up with it in February of this year.
Wow. Like, so just right before everything.
Right. Yeah.
So you were probably planning on like an album. Like that's the thing that's unfortunate is people that were planning things are like, oh, I was going to do an album release and all these other fun things like probably with it.
That was the thing. Cause like, I knew that I wanted to do, of course, when you do an album, you want to do like an album release show or a party or something. And I mean, I found out that the album sold right at the beginning of the pandemic, but then I was just like, oh, okay, so I don't have, maybe everything will be cool by August and then I can have a party. Nope. We fumbled the ball a whole lot on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we just got to live with it and try to just get by at this point. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's so weird. And
yeah.
the outdoor shows are happening. The bigger names are doing like drive-in shows and stuff like that. And
yeah, I know they taped those drive-in specials a little while ago.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I know Dave Hellum did something like that, and I think
Esther Steinberg did one. Erica Rhodes, Daniel Webb, I think, did one of those of the drive-ins.
They haven't released any of those yet, though, right?
No, they just taped those back in July.
Oh, okay. So those are pretty recent.
Very fresh.
Well, the good thing about you having your album out is at least, I mean, almost everyone's going to have to throw away a lot of their material anyways, I think, because of our life is completely different now than it was 6 months ago.
Yeah. I mean, I'd already basically started throwing away that material. And because now I'm doing more shows again. Now I'm starting to do some of these jokes that I hadn't thrown away. And I'm like, oh, I don't like these that much anymore. I feel like maybe I should just scrap these too. So I'm trying to write with what I have now and like what's going on and see if anything comes up. So it's own task.
And there's still roast battle happening. It's not quite the same, obviously, but
right. Yeah, we're doing that in a vacuum.
So how many people are in the room when you do roast battle?
We've got, let's see, there's Moses, there's me, Sarah Keller, Mike Schmidt, who's doing the video for us, and then our two battlers and the judges. So like 8.
Yeah, man. And like not even that long ago, I was, watching it in packed room where there's no seats and everything. You miss those days.
It's so strange. And I have no idea when it's going to go back to being like that. So every week that we do another roast battle, more and more, I'm just like, I can't wait till we can fill a room again. But I mean, it's going to be a while before we can get that done. I have a feeling if the Comedy Store is anything like the way they've done over the years, they're not going to be updating stuff very quickly. They're not going to put in ventilation systems and stuff to make sure people can get inside.
Yeah. At least I got the window, right? So it's something.
Yeah. The window's good. They did have in the main room, because people used to be able to smoke inside back in the day. They have these crazy smoke puller out things like they have in casinos. So maybe they'll be able to turn those on and repurpose those. Yeah. Pull that virus out of the air instead of cigarette smoke.
Well, hopefully they'll be all right. I know that documentary is coming out on Showtime.
Yeah, that should be fun to see how it turned out. You think I was working there still when they filmed it.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh.
They never interviewed me. I'm 95% sure that I'm not in it at all. Except maybe on the potluck episode, which I know that they're doing an episode that's all about potluck. But yeah, I mean, when they started filming, I was on my way out of working there. Like I was working a lot of other writing jobs at that point, and I was just like, speaking of sleep, I was like never sleeping. Like I was working basically 18-hour days, and then I would work at the store and work these other writing jobs. I actually started having to take a narcolepsy medicine, not for sleeping, because I was like falling asleep. Now I have modafinil.
Oh, so that did not work on me. They have a lot of promotion for that one, a lot of money, but not a huge fan. It conflicts with the birth control, which
fair enough. I started taking it basically just to regulate my sleep, so that way when I would have crazy early days for production and have to also go work at the store, a couple of days later and work the complete opposite sort of schedule,
Mhm.
I would at least be able to get through all of that and still feel alert. So it worked for me.
That's
And
good.
yeah, I still have a prescription for it but obviously during this I haven't really needed it
Mhm.
since I'm not working crazy hours. It's so weird how normal my life is during quarantine. Like I'm getting up at a normal time in the morning and I'm going to bed before midnight most nights. I don't even know when the last time I did that was.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts how people that had crazy schedules before now have all these like kind of more normal lives. So what stuff have you been writing for?
Well, since I quit, was working on mostly like game shows and reality shows. I worked on BattleBots. I worked on MasterChef and MasterChef Junior. The MasterChef Junior season I wrote for. Actually, I think it's either premiering now or it recently premiered because they just had it in the can, so it's just been sitting waiting to be shown, and now it's perfect time to show it since we can't make
They,
anything new.
yeah. Well, they're
Um,
starting to, but slowly. Production
Yeah,
slowly.
and we're going back to MasterChef. We'd started the new season back in February, and then March came around. We had to shut down.
Mhm.
We still have a couple weeks of production left, so we're going to go in and finish that up in October sometime. Not sure specifically when. But yeah, I mean, that's my main game, and then I'm working on some other stuff. I've done a little bit of ghost writing for some folks for the roasts, and
Ooh.
worked on BattleBots, which is a lot of fun.
What's BattleBots?
BattleBots is robots fighting each other. It's a great show.
That sounds like fun.
It's great. It's very entertaining. I definitely recommend you watch that.
Okay. That's like a good like get stoned and watch robots like.
Oh yeah. Well, because we play it up because it's basically like nerd sports, and we're playing it up. They got sports commentators. They got an MMA guy as one of the commentators. We're giving them these crazy intros, and these like it feels very very overblown and fun in a cool way.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I went to like one monster truck rally when I was a kid or something, but like I haven't gone to many of those types of obviously it's stuff you watch everything you watch on TV now, but in terms of seeing anything live like that.
Right. God, I'd love to go to a monster truck rally.
I mean, that's the thing. Like nowadays, we're like looking at the things that we did. Like, I wish I'd gone to more Renaissance fairs and random shit. Like it's so stupid. Like it's so weird that I'm thinking of the most random. Like I miss art museums and things like that.
Hmm.
Like going,
But I mean, all that stuff's coming back.
yeah,
Like, what? It's just good to prioritize. Like, all right, when this opens up again, I'm going to that. All right, when LACMA opens up again, I'm going to that. When the Ren
'cause
Fair opens up again, I'm getting myself a giant turkey leg.
yeah, I've never been to the Getty. So, because I've only been here 2 years. So,
Ah,
like, there's
Getty's
some things that
beautiful.
because it was so far away, I just hadn't made plans. And now I'm like, like, I wish I had gone. Like, obviously, they have a lot of protections, but when the fires were close to, I was like, you better not fucking burn down.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, I remember. Oh man, I think the thing that I surprisingly miss the most is going out to like a diner because I can't. I don't want to do this whole like al fresco eating on the sidewalk thing.
mhm.
I want to eat inside. I want to eat garbage food and hang out with a waiter and sit down in like an uncomfortable booth and eat at 2 in the morning with my friends again.
Oh, man. Yeah. Those late night. What diner? What diner would you?
Norms. I'm a Norms guy.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah. Chicago had a lot of late night dinners I like too. And that's what's also sad to see, like places, bars that you had a lot of experience at, that you spent a lot of time at, years, music venues are shutting
Hmm.
down. So that's also what's a little bit sad, but hopefully there'll be room for things. People still need food.
Yeah. Everything will find a way to come back to some degree. It's just who knows when. That's the craziest part is like, we got no idea.
Yeah, I'm kind of like thinking stand up won't come back to normal for like at least a year,
Yeah.
until vaccines are distributed a bit more widely. I don't know.
Hmm. I think in LA, certainly. Other places you can probably get away with stuff. Like I know back in Texas, stuff's opening up, and other states where it wasn't hit as hard as California, things are opening up. But also that's the flip side is like, all right, well, if places start opening up and people go there, then are there going to be outbreaks at those places, and are things going to have to shut down again? And then we're back to square one. Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, so that I'm going back home to Louisville because my brother is expecting another baby, so I'm going to be there for that because I have the time. And
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure their club is open, but I don't want to do stand up and risk people that come to see me to maybe get
Right.
sick.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. Like my family has been mostly in Texas. They've gone up a little bit to go visit my grandma in Arkansas.
Mm.
And, they're all driving all the time. So they're keeping it as safe as they can on that front. But the last time they were there, we all talked on the FaceTime and they were like, hey, it'd be great if you came up here for Thanksgiving. And I was like, I'm in like the worst hit city. I'd bring it with me if I went there. Like, am I going to be able to carve out 2 whole weeks on either end to make sure? And who knows what it's going to look like in November.
Well, what I did, I had to go for a funeral, so I had to wear. I really needed to be there, so I flew to Florida. But I wore a mask and then a face shield, which looked ridiculously nerdy throughout the airport the whole time. Like from my Uber that picked me up from my apartment to when like my brother picked me up from the airport in Florida, and that's what I did. Like,
I mean, I would just drive. That's what I plan on doing if I go.
well, narcolepsy, can't drive long distance.
Oh, of course you can't. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I'm flying like Southwest because they don't do middle seats. There's no middle seats through November, and they're really good about stuff. So
that's good.
Like stuff like that. But I also got tested right before I flew, and then I got tested again. Like I've gotten like tests just before I was going to things like that. So
right.
But you got to do something. I mean, I don't think we're meant to, that's the thing that's weird is we're social people. So I don't think we're meant to just be by ourselves. So I'm learning to hang out. I've got a lot of friends that hang out with outdoors.
Yeah, I'm starting to do the outdoor hangs. That's my new place has a backyard. So once I'm done remodeling and like getting all this stuff taken care of, I'm like, hey, people come hang out, we have a coffee and we can sit far apart from each other in the backyard.
I mean, that's something you can do. And I'll go on walks or hikes with people and wear masks. Like I only have like about 4 friends I'll hang out with like inside, except for my roommate. But
yeah, we got a little bubble.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like we went to, we had a couple friends of ours, over this weekend. We went to a drive-in together. We took 2 cars. We just parked right next to each other. And then we would get out and like talk to each other in the parking lot before the movie started. And then once the movie started, we just got back in our cars and watched.
What movie did you go see?
I went and saw Tenet.
Oh, was it? Oh, I didn't know that they were playing. Cause like, that's a movie I would go see in a drive-in.
Yeah, it's worth it. The one I go to is in Pomona or Montclair.
Okay.
It's called Mission Tiki. It's really good.
I went there early in quarantine. I saw Birds of Prey there.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's my favorite drive-in. I've been to a couple and
that one
they
has
do
like
it right.
4 screens and yeah. I've also been to a few Amazon screenings. They were doing some like a thing over the summer that was playing older movies, but it was like free. So that was fun.
That's cool.
So
yeah, I did the Tribeca drive-in and saw Palm Springs, and then Secret Movie Club has been doing one partnering with Electric Dusk. They do it in Glendale. Mm-hmm. But that one's a little different because they just basically take over a parking garage roof. So it's not a proper drive-in, like built to be a drive-in. So it's you have to make sure you get there early or else you're not going to get a very good view. But they did have the Secret Movie Club guys really know how to program a double feature well. So that was the best part. Like Mission Tiki, that's the only downside. It's like, all right, Mission Tiki, you might go and you'll see one of the movies and the other movie's going to be garbage. So why stick around for it?
Yeah. But it's still cheaper than what movies were before because it's like $10 a person versus $18 or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's interesting how a lot of life feels like it's going like back in time. Like drive-ins are becoming more popular, and like dating, it's like going on masked dates and stuff. It's like, I'm not going to kiss you until I know you. So
Oh
like,
yeah, you got to show ankle.
Yeah. Well,
it's the crazy part.
It's very strange. But
are you on apps?
Yeah, I am, but like I'm half-heartedly on apps. Like I'll check them like every couple days. I'm like the person that kind of messages back like 5 days later.
Gotcha.
And it's bad. Like I prefer meeting people in person, and but I think my vibe right now is I'm supposed to be working on my stuff right now, and once I get a certain thing, I'll meet the people or person, people.
Right. Yeah.
It sounds like I'm coming out as like a poly person, but I'm not expecting to like meet a couple or anything.
Right.
But I'll meet a person, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, that's the interesting thing is like, so yeah, my girlfriend and I, we just had our anniversary a couple months ago, 3 years. And I have all of my other friends are single. And so watching them figure out how to date in quarantine has been very funny for both of us, because we were just like, we don't need to deal with this. We're going to make our sourdough and hear your stories about trying to meet up with people on Hinge and go on walks.
It's weird. I actually only went through like a week where I went on a few dates, and they were fine. I prefer like either like active, like a hiking date, because if it doesn't go well, at least I got a hike in. And or like maybe a picnic date where you can sit like far away from each other and at least see each other's faces.
Yeah. Most of my friends are doing the lowest common denominator thing, which is inviting them over to watch a movie.
That's so ridiculous, because
I know.
Like, why? Like, you don't know this person. Why would you come over? That makes
because they're horny and they're making bad decisions.
I mean, believe me, I went back home and I was able to meet up with a friend from home, but like up until then, that was the longest I've been celibate in like 8 years. 8 years, and it's not
crazy.
Like it wasn't that long. Like it sounds like sorry, that sounds bad, but it's like that. It's not easy for somebody like me. It's not easy,
right?
But I don't trust most guys in general on things, especially somebody I would meet on a dating app. So
yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like most of my friends who have been dating are like, they're just like, all right, why would you do that? Like, why would you invite somebody over? But then they're like, oh, we're only seeing each other, so like we're not dating other people. And then she's like, but it's, you got to, I don't know. It's too much math for me to think about the prospect of even trying to get out there and date on dating apps right now.
I know. It's
so glad to be in a relationship.
I know. Like, I haven't been biggest on monogamy in general, like most of my dating life. But, this is making me realize, like maybe relationship isn't that bad of an idea. Mm-hmm. But I assume most of your friends that are single are comics.
No, most of my like really close comic friends are in relationships. It's all my non-comic friends.
Oh, really?
That are single. Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah, I hang out with a pretty, like, as far as the people who I'm closest with in LA, it's like half comics, half non-comics.
Oh, that's a great balance. That's awesome. Like, so when you moved here, did you know anybody?
I moved here. I had a comic friend of mine from North Carolina who we moved here at the same time. And then I had a friend of mine from high school who moved here at the same time. And then a couple people from college who I knew. So I had a decent little base. But then, my friend from high school, he and I both started out doing stand-up together. And then he quit doing stand-up. So I had to find my way into hang out with the stand-ups and making all these new comic friends, because none of my friends from college they were all working regular jobs and I was never able to see them. And I just had to like make a whole new friend group. And then the people who were important, like from the non-comedy side, they stuck around. And then the people who are important from the comic side stuck around. And then it's a nice balance that I've achieved. But I've been here like 8 years. So it took me a long time to find that balance.
Yeah, I feel like, primarily most of my friends are writers or comedians and performers of some because most of my friends in Chicago were, and then I moved,
Mhm.
and thankfully like five of my close friends moved within a year of me. Like three of them moved within like a couple months of me. So it was really nice to have. And I've made like other friends here, but I think I only have like maybe two non-comic friends. like
Ah, gotcha.
so not that many non-comic friends. But
You
it's
don't need that many though.
yeah, I guess you don't.
Like as long as you have a couple people to tie you to the non-comedy world and just to be like, oh, this is what normal life is like. Cool, cool, cool. Let's get that recharged and out of the way. Then you can hang out with all the weirdo comic friends you got.
Exactly. I think that's good. That makes yeah. So you moved out here 8 years ago. Did you do comedy in Texas?
Not really. I started out in North Carolina.
Oh,
It's
oh,
primarily where I went to do things. I did a little bit of comedy in Texas, but I wouldn't really consider myself like any part of the scene in Dallas or Fort Worth. I was primarily doing stuff in college when I was in North Carolina, and I was in like Chapel Hill, Raleigh, Durham, Greensboro. A couple times I would go a little further than that, but not much.
where'd you go to school?
Went to Elon.
I don't know what that is.
It's a shitty liberal arts school. It's actually a good school, but right now they have the guy who's fucking up the postal service, Louis DeJoy. He's
Mhm.
on their board of directors,
Oh,
and so I'm
yeah.
very not happy with my alma mater right now because they're like, yeah, he's a good guy.
And you're like,
I'm like, I like mail. I love mail and sending mail.
Back to the writing real quick. So when you write for reality TV shows, are you mostly writing like for the host or
Pretty much.
yeah.
I would write for MasterChef, for example. We have Gordon Ramsay, who's the host, but they also have, he's like a judge, and then they have two other judges. So I would be writing for them. And BattleBots on the flip side, sometimes I would write for the two hosts, who are basically also the commentators.
Mm-hmm.
But the main job that I had there was writing for the guy who's the ringside announcer for all of the fun one-liners and stuff that he would have
That's
before
fun.
he introduced the robots.
I mean, thinking about the robot thing, I think it would just be fun if you just had two different people voice over the robots, like
Mm-hmm.
as if they were trying to fight each other. I think that'd be hilarious. And in my head, imagining the script, because I mostly know like narrative script style. That's the kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So in my imagination for like writing for Gordon Ramsay, it would just be like, insert like info here, if you get angry improv insert or something like that, where he like gets to yell at the people.
That's pretty close, actually. Like there's some, yeah, well, because I mean, it looks different. Like I'm not writing them in Final Draft or anything, but basically it's the same sort of format where it's like, interior of the kitchen. There's this stuff. You get your stage directions. You have your setting. Yeah, the judges walk in. Then it's like Gordon says some angry shit and blah, blah, blah. And then occasionally you'll get like a reaction and that kind of stuff.
And for the kid ones, like, please remember, these are children.
Oh, no, Gordon. Here's the crazy thing about Gordon Ramsay is he's been doing it for like, oh, man, almost 40 years now, I think.
Wow.
So he's been, no, wait, the 90s. I'm so bad at math. It might be 90, 2010.
30.
Oh, no, it's almost 40. It is because he started in the 90s. He's been doing TV for so long that he's just like a total pro no matter what. And he also does swear in front of the kids, and it just makes them laugh. Like nobody cares.
I also am like amazed that like a 9 or 10 or 12-year-old can cook way better than I ever could. And I'm just like, okay. So if I
Wait
ever,
till you see this season. These kids are nuts with the things that they can cook.
I mean, that's what I can't wait. Like if I have kids, I'll just like maybe encourage them and be like, hey, if you want to get into cooking, I'll just buy everything for you. And then eventually they'll just love to cook for me.
Yeah, there was like, there's some kids who are so fancy with the way that they cook. I just don't understand. Like I could barely make for like bagel bites growing up, right? And these kids are like making like mac and cheese, but with a homemade roux, and there's like a beurre blanc sauce in there somehow, and I don't get it. I can barely. I've learned a lot about cooking watching Gordon and these other people cook, but I still am not even close to that level that these 9-year-olds are at.
That's kind of crazy to me. It's like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's good because I'm not really pursuing cooking, so that's fine.
Yeah.
No, when there's a 9-year-old that's like crushing it at the Comedy Store, then let's be worried. But
right. But hey, if the 9-year-old's crushing it at the Comedy Store, then shit has changed at the Comedy Store.
I know. That would be very weird, right?
Oh yeah. Unless Pauly Shore has a kid sometime soon, pops out something with his raggedy ass weasel dick and sees he comes.
Is it surprising that he hasn't? Like, I guess I don't know.
I am surprised that Pauly doesn't have any kids, at least that we know of. Maybe he does.
That's what I mean, that we know of, because we all know he's surprised.
Somebody that either Pauly has a very close relationship with that we don't know about, or somebody that the Shore family has paid off.
It's all possible. What do you think about all these people moving from LA to like Texas? So you got like Joey Diaz, you got, Joe Rogan, you got people moving away.
I mean, I think here's the thing. If you're a big name and you have a built-in fan base and you're making money off of that fan base, then it makes total sense to move out of Los Angeles. I am really excited for when the smoke clears a little bit, literally and figuratively, here in LA, and the clubs open up again to some degree, and the industry starts to come back a little bit more in earnest because all the huge names are gone. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a couple of them left sprinkled around. Like, I don't think Bill Burr is going anywhere, for instance. Doesn't sound like Tom Segura is moving.
Either scandal or moving. It seems like recently there have been some changes.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the beautiful thing for comics who are having a little bit of success before all this went down. When everything starts to come back again, on the Comedy Store lineups, there's probably like an hour and a half to 2 hours worth of lineup that's opened up now between people moving or people being pedophiles.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's another friend mentioned that to me, and I was like, that's a really interesting way to look at it, and it's a different way to like stay too, and also kind of weeding out different people that weren't that serious about it that kind of stopped. Or
right, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I moved to this new place. I signed a lease that's keeping me in LA. Like, I have faith that LA and the industry and everything's going to come back. I'm in it for the long haul. Like, I don't need to leave to go anywhere. Right? It's just going to come back, and I'm ready for it when it does.
Yeah. And we've got our things that we're doing, like your podcast too, which is kind of a cool concept. So is it people that have never seen the movies that they watch them, that they've never seen and they don't like, or just movies they don't like?
It's people talking primarily about movies they don't like and why they don't like them. Because, I mean, there's a dime a dozen bad movie podcasts out there, right? But I wanted to do something a little bit more personal. I wanted to talk about why you don't like a movie, because you might not like a very good movie that people think is like the greatest thing, but you don't like it for whatever reason. Yeah. So it's a little bit more personal. It's a little bit more fun. And I get a chance to watch a lot of movies doing that. So I dig it.
I listened to the Spaceballs one, but it sounded like he hadn't seen them. He just saw the movie like as an adult and not as a kid. So I think
right. Yeah. I think that helped or that hurt his chances of liking it more.
Well, yeah, because nostalgia factor is a huge part of that. Like feeling nostalgic towards a certain film. Like I do like Mel Brooks stuff a lot, and like Robin Hood Men in Tights and Spaceballs and Young Frankenstein. But then I tried to rewatch Blazing Saddles, and I got like 20 minutes in. I'm just like, this doesn't feel right,
What? Blazing Saddles is great.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the crazy thing is Blazing Saddles. I actually think. I mean, I got to rewatch Young Frankenstein, but I've grown to appreciate Blazing Saddles more because the first time I saw it, was when I was like 15, I think. And I mean, at the time, I was really too young to appreciate the satire that the movie is pulling off. I was just like, oh, this is funny racial jokes. Look at this. But now I watched it again twice as an adult, and both times, once you get past the fact that you got a bunch of white people dropping N-bombs, the level of like the racial satire high wire and the satire of Hollywood and the industry is so good and still holds up. And I just think it's fantastic.
Okay. All right. So I think I was turned off by a lot of those N-words. So I was like,
Right. Well, because that part, it's like, obviously,
yeah,
it's not comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I think that movies, if you're watching a movie and you feel comfortable the entire time, that doesn't necessarily make it a great movie. I think that really, really great movies push you emotionally in different ways and make you feel more than just like, yes, I am enjoying myself at this movie.
Like the current controversy with that Cuties film. I haven't watched it, so but
I haven't watched it either, but that's the thing. It's like everybody's super mad because they made a movie that's about young girls doing these crazy sexual dances and wearing these outfits that are provocative. But then but you read interviews with the director. She's like, yeah, this is the whole point of the movie, is I'm making this as a commentary on like how that is bad.
Yeah, I read the article, and I've seen a lot. I like some French films. There's a film that I watched called Love Me If You Dare. It's like early 2000s. It's like a really good. So like I get that they're a little bit more risky and things that they do, but I just hadn't watched it. I just haven't had time. I've been working on stuff. Mm-hmm. So are you also somebody that wants to write and also write screenplays and TV shows and other things like that?
Yeah, I'm working on. Well, I have some stuff that I have once the house is done, and I can focus on that a little bit more in earnest. I have some stuff I'm working on. I'm editing a documentary right now that I made with some friends of mine during the beginning of quarantine. Oh. And it's just a little short comedy documentary about my friend who loves these specific brand of frozen pizzas that you can't get in LA. So it's us driving to Las Vegas in a day to go find these frozen pizzas and bring them back.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's been fun to edit and work on. It's a nice little project. And then I've got a couple of scripts that I'm working on and a couple ideas for some non-narrative stuff that I'm working on too. But yeah, I mean, I love movies. I was a film student in college. I love film and TV, and I have ideas and stuff that I've worked on for that. And I'm excited to get back into that. It's a horror movie script that I've been writing, so I'm excited to get back into there.
That's fun. I think what's nice about quarantine is after all this, we'll have a lot of cool art and film and just creative things that will come from this time for us to just kind of reset and like work on our stuff. Yeah,
it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm. And are you pro or anti Zoom stand-up shows?
I mean, I've done a couple. I've done some bad ones. I've done some good ones. At this point, all bets are off. They're just like any show that could exist normally, where there are going to be some good ones, there are going to be some bad ones. I always will prefer live stand-up, and that's why I'm glad outdoor shows are coming around.
Yeah.
But I'm not, having done good ones now, I'm not turning my nose up at Zoom shows the way I did when I first did, and did some really god-awful Zoom shows. But to be fair, the ones that I did previously, like I think the first Zoom show I ever did was a rehab show, and I've done, I've done a fair amount of rehab shows in person, and those are even more of a crapshoot than like a bar show, right? Because sometimes these people, bar show, you might get heckled or something, but you're not going to have people who are like zonked out and detoxing fall asleep on you.
Yeah.
Or not even have the capacity physically to react because of all the meds that they're on, or just how shitty they feel from all the stuff that they're not taking anymore.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. And also you got to like adjust material maybe if you don't want to be insensitive and things like that. So
yeah, sometimes you got to do content restrictions. and sometimes like it's all a crapshoot. I do love like one of my favorite all time shows in crowds is this rehab facility. No, it's not. It's not even a proper like a rehab. It's oh god, it's hard to describe because it's a state run facility that has a detox element, but it also is basically the place that like if somebody gets arrested and it's a drug related offense or a mental health related issue that they are found guilty of, like, for whatever reason, schizophrenics, bipolar disorder, that kind of stuff, they will either be sent to jail or they'll go to this facility where they can actually get mental health and addiction counseling and that kind of stuff. But it's free because it's a state-run facility. So it's a wide range of the kinds of people who are coming there. But it is such a great stand-up show because these people do not give a fuck. They are so down for whatever jokes you're going to throw at them.
Oh, that's great.
One of the last sets I ran my album set at before I recorded was at that facility, and it was it was great. It was great. It was a great way to run it.
Did you get some cheers at the Four Loco stuff, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They sure did miss Four Loco in there.
Oh, that's great. I'm very curious because I'm looking at their background. So how much redoing are you doing, like, to the house?
Well, I mean, right now you can see this is a bookshelf that's supposed to go on a wall. I mean, I'll show you. I've got this.
Oh yeah. Okay. So there. You're like really, yeah.
Yeah. We repainted almost all of the rooms. It's a 1-bedroom. So we have this big old living room, office space, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. So we repainted all of this last week. Now we're tearing down the popcorn ceilings because we tried to repaint those, but it's impossible to paint because the popcorn's on too thick. So we're taking down the popcorn ceiling. And then got to repaint the kitchen and the cabinets and then hang up all of this shit on the walls. And then we're finally done. So
wow.
That's as soon as this is done, I'm going to get back to putting on my asbestos mask and taking down popcorn.
That's cool. Has rehab been good for you guys? Has it just been like a cool project to do together, or is it?
Here's the thing is, like, I didn't really come around on it until yesterday when I started taking down the popcorn ceiling because my girlfriend is so much more a capable, handy person than I am. Like, she's way better at painting than I am. She's way better at building stuff. She built this bookcase.
He built that?
Yeah. On the other side, I mean, you can't really see. This is just the joist.
I know. I'm just impressed by how clean the lines look and stuff. Like, in general, like, I'm like you. I'm not very good at, like, building stuff. Painting stuff I could do. Yeah.
Yeah, painting I can do okay, but, like, tearing down a popcorn ceiling is so satisfying.
It makes you realize why they had break rooms and stuff like that, where you could take a sledgehammer and stuff.
Oh, God, that's one of the things I always wanted to do before quarantine hit. I was on the road with my buddy Gary Peterson, and we drove past. We were trying to find something to do to kill time between show days. We're like, oh, do they have a break room here? And then we found one. This was I think in Texas. And we went there and it was closed on the day that we were in town.
I wanted to do that too, a break room and the axe throwing. Those are two things that I've wanted to do. Because I remember when I was a theater major, so we had to do crew sometimes. So at the very end, we get to tear down the sets with like a sledgehammer.
Oh God, great times.
Really fun. For some reason, there's some sort of freeness of tearing something physically down.
It is very liberating.
Strange. It's a different kind of therapy.
Yeah.
What's your therapy? I like to tear shit down.
I like to break shit. I like to make sure that I want to take down the biggest pieces possible.
Yeah. Hey, it's helpful though that you get to do that. And I'm glad you're on board with the remodeling and all that stuff now. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what else do you have planned for your quarantine? You feel like you're handling it pretty well? It seems like it's almost been better for you, it seems.
Yeah, I certainly have had up and down days, but it's been a good quarantine overall. Like, I'm happy I moved, happy that we're doing these projects and we're taking our time to work on our own things. Glad stand-up's coming back because now I can take a proper inventory of my of my material. Be like, maybe I don't need to do this many cum jokes. Maybe I can aim a little higher.
When you say that, I just imagine like you have like a whole board with different like, who was it? Joan Rivers used to keep them in like cue cards, right?
I have them all I have a wall of notebooks and I have a whole note keeping system that I've been keeping up for years. So
Oh, really?
I'm looking through that and I'm just like, maybe I get rid of these. Maybe these go into the archives.
That's cool. So you're handwritten like old school with everything.
I do handwritten half and the other half is in the computer just because there's some stuff I definitely don't want to lose, but there's some stuff I'm like, I can trust the cloud with this.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good.
Yeah.
As we're running on the podcast, I know we talked about sleep a little bit earlier and your crazy sleepwalking, but I always end the podcast by asking people like what your dreams are or hopes for the future.
Oh, man. I mean, my big hope for the future is that it doesn't take me another 3 days to tear down this popcorn ceiling. I really want to... I guess by the time things come back and start to come back a little bit more, I want to get back out on the road and do stand-up and make money off of doing touring again. I had done a little bit, like I'd started to get to the point where over the past year, I've been able to make my money solely off of comedy, writing, and performing. Big ultimate dream is to be able to make it all just off of performing comedy.
Ooh.
Writing's fun, but writing just pays the bills, ultimately. I've always liked the actual craft and performance of stand-up. So that's next. That's one of those down the line kind of goals.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that it'll definitely happen. So it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, who knows? I got no fucking idea. I got no way to know.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for doing the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Always end by saying good night. So good night, everybody.
Good night. Sweet dreams.
Thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with Jay Light. Be sure to check out Jay's podcast, Blockbusting, and follow Jay on Instagram and Twitter at DietJ, and check out his comedy album, Good Guy with a Gun. If you like the podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. I'll be releasing a new podcast each week, so tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. A big thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. If you want to find out more about me, go to sleepysarah.com or follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Sarah Allbritton. Until next time, good night.